Emin, welcome to today's talk, and it's very exciting talk about how an egg timer app got Emin every interview. So I would like to introduce Emin. Emin is a UX engineer turned iOS engineer. UX designer turned iOS engineer after deciding to switch careers and shift all his focus to development. So for the last 3 years, he has been actively learning Swift and expanding his knowledge through various courses and books, working through materials from Mark Moeykens, Paul Hudson, Donny Wals, and others, as well as developing few personal projects. He loves SwiftUI and is employed with TIDAL, TIDAL, as a member of the core team, where he works on app maintenance, new feature development, testing, and more. So, Emin, up to you. We would love to hear your awesome talk. Let me just stop sharing my screen just a second.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let me just pick up the share. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let me just, there we go. And just let me try and move. Oh, I don't think I have to move this here. Welcome to my first/second talk. And just in case something becomes weird with the audio or anything, anyone just feel free to let me know. And we do have a 6-month-old. She's actually exactly 6 months tomorrow. So if there's laughter and all that, like from time to time, just enjoy it. So thank you for that awesome intro. Here's like just everything laid out in case you're are interested in reaching out via Twitter or anything. I'm in Norway currently. I've been here for like a year and a half. Before that, I was in Serbia. I was living that like all my life mostly. But now I say like my second talk or first because just a week ago I did my first like presentation in a way. It wasn't a talk specifically, but it was still my first like public speaking venue, let's call it like that. So I'm still easing into this, and I try to be as clear and as professional as I can with this, but of course, like we'll see how it goes. Take it easy on me. So first about this thing, is this, oh, sorry, we have some technical difficulties and I'm gonna have to do like debugging like right away. This is like such a spoiler now, but there we go. It should have been like this. You can pretend you haven't seen that answer, so act surprised. So is this for real? Yes, this is really for real. This app really did get me jobs and interviews and everything like that. Specifically, 2 jobs. This is like my second full-time employment, like full job as an iOS developer. But in that time, I had six interviews, and in all those interviews, I got 6 offers. I got all the way to the end of the interview process, and I got the offer. And the only reason I declined some of those offers was that either it wasn't the right time or anything. But thankfully, like whenever I applied, this really did get me like a boost of sorts. And I didn't notice this like until recently. This isn't like I did make this app to do these things, to like push me a bit and to give me like an extra edge over like other applicants. But only after a while I figured how well it's performing and how good it has been to me. So I thought to share this, and possibly people will pick up some of this and incorporate it into their applying process or their CV or whatever. So hopefully it will help others as well. So first, let's see that app. This is like just a video recording that I made, and you can swipe left and right to decide like which type of effect you want to. And this scroll is connected to the animation using Lottie animation. So that's like the main thing about it. We have like some in-app purchases and some tutorial just how to do it, because it is a bit of a specific way the app is used. And I will go into detail like for each screen. I just want to give you like an overall look. Like it's not, we gotta be real, like this still is just an egg timer app. This isn't something, I don't want to oversell this, but I think it looks nice and it kind of catches your attention. It has like a nice colors and everything, but let's dissect it first. And I will try to go through this whole like talk about the app and how I did it, why I did it, and all that. Not to rush it, but I think you would get the most value from this when we get to the Q&A. And speaking of that, like whenever you have a question during the talk, feel free to raise a hand or just type it in the chat, and Poojita and Sierra will just let me know. We can stop whenever and wherever, because I feel like you don't have to hold all your questions to the end. If we're talking about a certain screen and you're interested in something in regards to that screen, just let us know. We can stop, but we of course will have a full Q&A at the end where you can ask anything related to the app or applying process, interviews, whatever, basically. So the first and the main screen is that scroll left to right. When I noticed, when I saw Lottie by Airbnb, and that's like an SPM or like a pod that you can use to import some pre-made SVG animations into your app, and it works really good, and it's so easy to incorporate and everything. And in this example, I just made custom animation with this egg going from like one state to the other, and then I connected that animation to my scroll, to my collection view, paged collection view, basically. So I can go like from one state to the other. And also when I scroll through it, like you can see each step and it's tied to your swipe, basically. Color-wise, I decided to go like for vibrant purple background. And I think like that this is kind of like personal, but like depends on your preference. I like to go like really with almost weird colors, like very vibrant purple or pink or blue, or not green as much, that would be too strong, but something that catches attention, and that's fun, because apps are meant to be fun. They don't have to be like very, I mean, if it's like a banking app or anything, of course it needs to be like very clean and professional, but having fun here and there, like that's all what we're to do. And also the button, I used the neumorphic type of design, which was a bit like a novelty at the time, and still is kind of like really interesting when you see it. And of course, it has like a timer on top and all those good things. The second screen, which is the like a setting screen, this is where I added some in-app purchases. Now, I was quite aware that I'm not going to make a lot of money with this. Like maybe like some friends for fun would like buy me like coffee and beer or whatever, unlock some icons. But this was primarily so I can practice in-app purchases and adding custom icons. So if I thought about like if I got an assignment to do those things in a company and I need to research it and to test it like in a live project, that wouldn't be fun for me or my employer. This way I could test it out, see how I can pick up, like you can see that the price is like in NOK, that's Norwegian currency, but it of course adapts, like if you're in the US, it's gonna pick up US dollars and everything. And it's already done by the, it's already done natively, but you can choose like what, if you can hard code the value. I thought I would have to, but here I learned, for example, that I can just get that from the App Store Connect when I, while the app is running, basically. And also the added some animations there as well, and the using custom icons, which you can switch back and forth. And the funny thing is, like here, like in my, not sure if I bought these. Yeah, I think I didn't restore purchases here. Like I'm missing that. I can see that in the screen, because you can see that I haven't bought my own icons, which is nice.
Emin,
Yes.
so we have our
Yes.
first question from Raghupati. He wants to ask that, did you use UIKit or SwiftUI to develop this app?
I used UIKit because this was almost maybe 3 years ago. I'm not sure. I forgot to see in the code like when was like my first commit, but no, this is like fully UIKit app, which I started to rewrite to SwiftUI, and I will just because it's so fun. But yeah, this is a fully UIKit app.
And also, that's great. Also, Rhonda wants to ask that, do you have a background in graphic design?
That's an almost funny story. Like I don't have like I had the school that I finished, like the college when I went to, we had like 2 years of design. Like first 2 years were like general informatics, like working with Access with some, we did do some Java, I think, and but it was like a very computer science based like college, and the two second years were focused on After Effects, Illustrator design, like in general. So I do have some experience there, but now the funny thing is that I started working as a designer when I started attending those later 2 years. So I was basically learning everything during while I was working as a designer, basically. So I did have like always a interest towards design and creative things and all that. So my main education there was basically just on the job and from a couple of awesome colleagues that I had, where I like, but I usually like I picked all this up the same way that I did like iOS development, by learning from others and reading and practicing, because in design everything is about practice. So not sure if that answers the question. I went a bit broad. So yeah, I do, but at the same time, I didn't have to. I learned it on the job, basically.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's continue, and thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. So the third screen is the. I don't know why my keynote keeps skipping. Let me just. Okay, there we go. Tutorial screen. This is. I almost didn't want to put this in the app itself, but the way this timer works is very specific, and I did do some research. This is not like just an egg timer app. I did do some research, and I found some links on what is the best way to make eggs and the most risk-free, basically. So as you can see, like you put your eggs in water and they boil, and then after that you turn on the timer. So I had to put this tutorial here, but also like an opportunity to add some more animations and to add the attribution button at the very bottom to attribute all the artists who did like animations and sounds and everything. Also, interesting thing to note, like these neuromorphic buttons, when you tap them, they do have a haptic connected to them, and they animate, as you saw, I think, in the previous. So it really has like a rubbery effect, and also the sound, is like a rubbery plop kind of effect. So it really is very interesting to use this app. And this animation was made for me by my godfather friend. So this was really fun to do. Then the attribution screen was just a way for me to show basically attribute all the artists that did the animations, which I picked up from Lottie files, and some sounds from, I think, Envato, which I paid for, of course, but I just thought it would be good to link to those as well. And all these animations that you can see now are inside notifications. So when the eggs are done, you get a notification and the sound, and this notification shows up when you open the app, and it has like a funny side message like bears don't eat eggs, but here you go, or this elephant is coming to get your eggs, hurry up, or the cheese one was something like, I'm not sure, cheese Louise, your eggs are done, or I don't know. I just had fun with it. Basically, it's like a fun with notifications. So why though? Why would you create like an app that is not too advanced, or that doesn't seem to showcase your ability or anything? And first, like this is, I cannot stress how important it is when you apply, especially as a junior developer, to have the app on the store. I several times when I talk to some of my colleagues, some were like very certain that you don't need to have an app or anything. I mean, and you don't have to, but it does help, like for a potential employer to see that you went through the process of posting the app on the store, and maybe having your app rejected a couple times or whatever, but going through that process, they would feel more confident that you can maintain their app as well. Proof of the minimum work that you can do, because especially if you don't have any experience, if you don't have any references towards your iOS development experience or anything, if they see this and they see notifications in the purchases, timers, whatever, they're like, okay, like this person made this. Like, yeah, they could have like picked up some of that stuff up from Stack Overflow, or which is fine, of course. But again, you made it. This is yours, and they do know that you will at least be able to do some things in their app, or if they're uncertain, basically. Yes, I did already mention that. So, but this is for in-app purchases as well, which is anyone who has done in-app purchases knows how tricky this can be. And any employer who can see that you have in-app purchases in your app will be very interested in how you did it, number one, because doing it manually, I mean, it's not too tricky, but it's finicky. So it can be kind of like, I don't want to say buggy, but it's not too fun to do. And that's why Revenue Cat, which is, they're not sponsoring anything, but that's the service that I would gladly use for anything going forward. They're working on any app. Trial version of you, in the sense that, I mean, when you get the app and you don't have to pay for it, but you can see like what it does, it makes them more like at ease and sure of what your capabilities are and whether to hire you or not. Interesting thing, this can be like a very good icebreaker if you're nervous, and you will be, and I mean, I'm still out after like how many interviews, and I haven't had like too many interviews, so I'm still like going through that like a bit of a nervous like process and everything. But when you have something that you made and that you're sure on, you know how it works and everything, it gets really easy to talk about that, and maybe they will ask you how did it or whatever. Or one time it happened when I was talking, and the interviewer was like, this app doesn't work. Like, I tried it and the YAG wasn't like running at all, and we started talking about it, and it was like, how do you make it? And it turns out he didn't follow the tutorial. So me and his colleague were just laughing, and you know, it becomes like really like a more friendly atmosphere, because you just joke around and share some thoughts and whatnot. So, and also buying time in a sense that when you go to an interview, the longer you're there, the better. So unless you're doing like a live coding challenge or anything of that sort, but the more you talk to these people and the more they ask you and you go back and forth and everything, you are becoming more and more memorable, and you're talking about more things and you connect more and everything. So the longer you can spend in that call or in that office or whatever, it'll all go in your favor, and they will definitely like remember you for that job or the next one or anything. So this is like a very good, they can at least remember like, oh, that guy that has an egg timer app or similar.
Emin, so we have
Yep.
another question. A couple of people are asking that if this app is on App Store, then can you leave a link to it?
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Let me see, where is the quickest, what is the quickest way I can do that right now?
We can also do that at the end of the talk if you would like.
Chris actually shared it, so I just shared it with everyone as well.
Yeah.
You have
nice
fans in the audience with the link already.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's just been posted. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Nice.
And there's another one.
Did Chris post the?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's another question that's regarding that. Do you have experience, like, did you have experience in Lottie animations before? And any recommendations on how to start incorporating them into the apps?
Yeah, before this, I think I just, while I was working on the app, I didn't even know about Lottie, but then when I saw it, I just incorporated in the app, and I didn't have experience with it at all, or I didn't have experience like too much of anything, honestly. I mean, this app, and I'm not sure if it's even on GitHub, because I wasn't as good with. I wasn't posting much stuff on GitHub back then and everything, and the code base is not too clean at all. But I think if I find that code, I can gladly share it just so you can see how new I was to it. So it's a bunch of not good coding practices. So it's not good to see like and to learn from it. But I was definitely new, and I was just feeling in the dark. And the Lottie animations were very easy to add. It's literally like you add the pod, or now SPM, which is the preferred way to do it for sure. You just import it and just call the JSON file which you already dropped in your project. So I'm not sure if it can be easier. Working with storyboards, it was a bit tricky where you had to set up the class for that view. But especially now in SwiftUI, there is I don't want to say tricky way to do it, but in any case, whether you're adding to UIKit or SwiftUI, it's very easy to add. And if you need help with that, feel free to reach out on Twitter or anything, and I will help you out. Because for SwiftUI, I'm not sure if they have like an official way to do it, but I did add it while I was remaking this, and that app is still in development, but I can just share that extension and help you out.
Awesome. Also, there's a question from Theo that how much marketing did you do for Runny Egg, Twitter, etc., and how did employers find you?
Oh, I didn't do any marketing. This app was like an addition or attachment to my whenever I sent the CV. So I never got like an interview by employers, like seeing it and then just looking who the dev is and then contact me or anything, because at the end of the day, this app isn't like something too special. But when you put it next to your CV and they have something to remember you by, and it looks a bit more rememberable and kind of like with vibrant colors and everything, it's a bit different. They just remember you more easily, and they just ask you to come on for a talk or anything just because you are different than the others. So if 20 people send CV, they have like pictures or don't, they have this, they don't, or whatever. But when you have the app, which looks a bit out there, they note that, and that's the thing with where this app will hopefully help you. I mean, app such as this.
And that's great. So Matt is saying that, first of all, great portfolio piece. And how did you add this on your CV? Did you show screenshots or give them an App Store link? So like, what's the best practice to do that?
Yeah, that is a very good question. And I was going to mention that in the end, because I forgot to mention that, to put that in the presentation, because some people might say that interviewers won't download the app because they are going through the CVs all day. They don't have time to search it, or if they're looking at the app on their Mac and they're not, they don't use like a universal clipboard and they can't like copy paste on a phone or whatever. So the way that I've solved that is I have like an icon in my CV and which has like a link to the App Store, but it also has a link to the video, like the same video that I showed you on the one of the initial pages. So my thinking with that is, even if you have like more apps, and I would never send more than 3, like 3 is the maximum number of apps that you should send if you have more, but always provide a link with the video rundown, because that way they will just look at it, and if they see something they like, they're like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna download it and check this out myself. But with the video, you can pinpoint like specific parts of the app that are really interesting, like Again, in that video, I just swiped left and right, and then just I swiped slowly, so you can see how scroll affects the animation and everything. So it kind of gives them the idea how the app works. And also, I'm not sure I mentioned in this presentation, or I will mention, is the use of Rotato app, which would help to record a video with it. That way you would have like that good preview of the phone, and you can even rotate it or whatever, make it even more interesting. And actually, in the end, I will show you also animation I did for like the recent app that I did, Unsafe. That's the app that I was talking about during iOS Dev Happy Hour, which has a bit more advanced animation, but you can see like where you can get with all those animations. And I'm sure Chris, who has my back, will even have a link ready, because, and I'm sure he posted the link for the previous app as well, because he's like my I don't know, guardian Chris. So yeah, I forgot what the question is. I went a bit overboard, but did I answer it?
Yeah, you absolutely answered it. That was a great answer. Yeah. So also one other attendee is asking that, what if I have an app that's on GitHub and not in the App Store yet? So could I still get employers interested? And is it okay to have an app you are still working on in your resume?
Yes, definitely. That's why you can post a video. So if it's on GitHub, that's even better, because you can, like, it depends like what, if you want to share the code, if you're comfortable with it, if you're really try to make like to use a good architecture and to make like the code as clean as you can and everything, do share the code as well. Share screenshots and video. Like video, for me, like when I review some applicants in any of my jobs, it's very time saving to just have like open video, see it, and see if you should investigate further. If you see the app that you like it works well, it looks good, then I will download the app or look at it on GitHub or anything. So it's quite okay to even share something that's not on App Store, that's not live, because I mean, you might be working on something that's not yet ready, or maybe it's something that App Store doesn't approve, and you feel that it's like a good piece of code that you can share, and it will have the same value. You won't lose any points there, basically.
That's great piece of advice. I mean, so I hope that this answered the questions Matt and Cam had. So please let us know if you have any further questions in the chat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's carry on. Next one, yes. When you present the app, you have two choices. You can say like, oh, hey, I have an egg timer app and here it is, and this like leave the rest of them. Or, I mean, and this is not lying per se, but you have to know how to sell the app itself. So if you say that you have an app that uses in-app purchases, loading animation, sound, background timers, custom haptics, local notifications, custom fonts, alternative icons, remote JSON fetch, if you want to put that in. So list goes on, and you don't have to like go too much into detail to just make as much points as you can. But as you can see, like all these points, this is all except the remote JSON fetch. I just added that in because at the time I didn't know that, but working with API is 98% of the things that you will be asked about for any job interview, for any position. So if you have that in your app, and you can use it for like texts for the tutorial, you could use it for like the fetch remote animations or whatever. But if you have remote JSON or just working with any API, using Codable Protocol or whatever, like if you have that in the app, you will benefit greatly. But again, dissecting the app like this makes it like they don't focus on the egg timer, which is like a very basic app to have, or like a to-do list, which also is in a sense a basic app because we all made like a bunch of those when we were practicing. But then to-do list apps can like go really deep into complexity, so it doesn't have to be simple. So if you put it like this, they can look at it and like, okay, like in the purchases, check, load animation, check, sounds, you know, you have experience with all these things, and that's this list here is the reason why when I was first making the app, I wanted to practice all these things and to practice them safely, working on my own app, and to be able to make mistakes and to have ugly code or whatever. So once the time comes when I have to do this in my day job, I will have more experience with it, and I will know what to look out for, and I will know, like, for example, how to put custom fonts are rarely used, from my experience at least, but I did it once here, and I can still remember how you do it and how you put it like in EFP list and your documents folder, which is like something that you would, you would Google it, of course, but still it helps to have that initial knowledge, basically. And also alternative icons, which was very fun to do. And I'm not sure if I added the ability to like just long press on the app icon and have like that. Not sure what that menu is called, but like a app menu, something. I don't know, but I'm definitely thinking like all the things that I could add on to this app now and make it like a proper beast of an app that I can still apply with. And I would still, after all these years, I would still send this app with my CV, just because when you see that ag on a purple background, you remember that. So it's I will never stop sending this, even when I start sending it for like a senior roles or whatever in the future, of course. Ready, set, stress. When you go into the interview, if you go like, hopefully, if the app that you made using these approaches helped you get into the interview room or into the call, one way to help you ease that stress, because there will be stress and it's quite normal to have it, is to prepare answers to some possible questions. Because if they really liked the app, and if they if that is not the main reason, but if that's something that influenced their decision to call you in, they will have some questions like, oh, how did you do this, or how did you do that? Like the same that you asked me now, if I use UIKit or SwiftUI, if I found working with Lottie fun or not. And so they will have some of those questions, and you can not prepare answers for them, but like prepare yourself for some of these answers. Because if you did something here and you cannot remember how you did it like at all, it wouldn't be too bad, but just go over the basics and make sure that you have like an approximate answer for all of these. And for example, here, they might ask me, and these are some of the questions that I have like made back then. So how did I solve like the scroll, and how did I connect it to the animation, for example? Or restore purchases. This is something that I added when I was making the presentation. But why didn't you add restore purchases, for example? Or how did you add them? Or was it easy to add them? Or what are they used for? So there's so many questions which can be connected to this. Or yeah, because I mentioned working with the timer in the background, or they might ask you like, if I start the timer and minimize the app and open it like 5 minutes later, what will the timer say? And if you haven't done any work with timers, you wouldn't know that when you minimize the app, the timer stops. The app cannot work in the background unless it has like some capabilities. And in my case, I literally, like, when the app is about to go in the background, I saved the exact time, and when you open the app back again, I noted a time when you opened it, and then just manually deducted the time that was lapsed in that period. So, but again, this would be a very interesting question and a very interesting topic to talk about, especially if you're interviewing for a junior position and you have like this question that would pop up. It's I'm sure they would be not impressed, but they will note you, and they will at least be happy about that, you know how that works, and that you solved it, and the way that you solved it, because there's no wrong ways to do this. And this is like one example why those questions are really good. And I was working with Lottie, and someone already asked this, so that's like the reason why I have these questions. or did you earn anything from it? This is also like an icebreaker thing. And I think like in 3 years, not 3, but maybe 2.5 years that this has been out there, maybe I earned like $25 or something, and I earned 90% of that on like the launch day, because that's when my friends bought it and everything. So I mean, still from time to time, people like do use that in purchases for fun and all that. But of course, that's not the purpose of the app, but it's still there, you know. And the list goes on. You don't have to go too much into detail, but just make sure that you cover all the main aspects of your app, just to have something to talk about there, or you know, just expand on that time that you can spend inside that interview room. Yeah, for the end, like, you have to be real. This is a simple app. If you create a simple app, and that is the idea, to make a simple but really good looking app, the really flashy app with fireworks and all that, you have to be real the way you present it, that it's not too impressive. It's not like you are not the best junior developer they can hire or anything. So you cannot present it in to downplay it, but you cannot upsell it too much as well. You can just like show them the app, like give them a preview, a video, or whatever, and let them do the conclusions, like whether you talked too much about all those bullet points, like what the app has, or if it's pretty or not, or whatever. So just be careful not to talk too much about the app, and if they don't notice it, and maybe if the app is not the reason that they called you, you don't have to mention it. You don't have to like, if you expect to go into that interview and talk about the app for like 80% of the time, and they don't mention it, you could be like in a disadvantage, because you were thinking that it will be the talk of the town, but it's not. So, which happened to me. I mean, sometimes they just mention, "Oh, nice app, like I installed it, like good timer, but let me ask you about this." So they literally just noted that, and that switched to the other topics that I had, and I was quite fine with that. I was by that time I was used to it. So just be real. That's the main message here. And we have come to the QA section. If there are more questions, of course, but feel free to ask me about anything, and anything in regards to this or iOS development or whatever you have. And of course, you can always reach me on Twitter as well if you have like any questions, design-wise, code-wise, or anything. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Emin. It was an awesome talk. And you know, the app is so good looking, and really all the animations and all the UI aspects. So it's just very nice.
Thank you.
Someone in the attendees was asking about tap gesture recognizer. So you mentioned it on one of your slides. So what is it? If we can get a brief, intro about it.
Oh, was a good question. Is it using tap gesture recognizer, or the way that I incorporated it, or maybe it was in regards to the animation, I guess? Let me just
yeah, just a few slides before. So it's just a general question, I guess. So you can just talk a bit about like what it is used for. And in the meantime, if Theo has asked it, so if he has like some other question regarding it, then please feel free to, comment in the chat.
Oh, I see. Just time just to recognize the question mark. So it was possibly when I was talking about the animation of how I control the animation while I'm scrolling, and in that specific case, I didn't use add any custom tap gesture recognizers or anything. I just sync the scroll with the animation progression, because Lottie animations, they literally have like, they're not like, they can be playable and loopable and everything, but you can literally just move the slider, like when you pause a movie and you move a slider back and forth, and or when you're working with the animation in After Effects, for example, you can literally like go frame by frame back and forth. So this way I just connected those frames to the scroll view, which is behind all that. And that way the scroll view position was connected to the animation progression. And I just need to, again, because this was done a while back, now today I would use it with the collection view. But I think back then that I even did like work with the scroll view and then just connected the positions. So I don't remember adding or knowing about tab gesture recognizers back then.
Okay, that's great. I hope that answered the question. Also, like one of the attendees asking that in your CV, you had some other projects or just this one?
At first, it was just this one, especially for my first job, where I didn't even put it in the CV. But while I was talking with the interviewer, and they asked me like, "Oh, did you make an app with so far?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I have it here," and I showed it on the phone. And I remember like a couple months after, like while I was already working there, that he mentioned that, "Oh yeah, like that app was the sole reason why you got hired." I mean, he was joking a bit because we're like friends like that, but he definitely was like, yeah, when I saw that app, I was like, okay, this guy has to come and work for us. And I wasn't expecting that good of a reaction back then. So that was really mind-blowing. But yeah, I do have other apps that I send. And I just note like if I worked on that app like inside a team or for an employer, and especially if it's for an employer, you can always show the app and like mention it. And you can just say like, okay, I did like this part of the app, or because any employer would realize that you haven't done like, for example, now I work in TIDAL, and I would never say like, oh yeah, I made a TIDAL app, but I'm just maintaining some parts of it. So it always helps if the app is solely yours. It definitely helps, and I would put those apps like first. So if you have like 7 or 8 apps that you have worked on, first present your apps, because the apps that you are working on for your employer, it's a given that you worked on those apps, so you don't have to really present them as much.
Awesome. Also, Raghupati is asking that if someone is planning to transition the career to iOS development in a year, would you recommend learning SwiftUI or UIKit or both?
Yes, that is a really interesting question, and I'm not sure anyone has like a 100% like an answer to that. For me, like if I wasn't in a rush, I would try to I would definitely learn like SwiftUI. You would have to learn it, and it will definitely help. And it really depends on the company and the jobs where you would apply. And if it was me, if I didn't know anything about programming or like development iOS or any other development, I would always go for the latest first, because that is something that will become the main focus for any jobs that you apply for. But currently, it's more of a maybe 80-20 split in the favor of UIKit, because if you don't know UIKit and quite a big number of apps is based on UIKit or even Objective-C, you will be like put on the like maybe pile or something like that. So I would suggest for this concrete like question, learn SwiftUI and combine. That will help you greatly. But for UIKit, you do have to cover like a good part of it, like at least working with JSON, and you don't have the storyboard, so don't even like anything storyboard, like just go around that, because by now like people have already forgotten about that. So you will have to learn both. But I mean, I've seen some jobs and which are like, oh, SwiftUI, it's okay to only know SwiftUI, or like we are working on an app that will be SwiftUI only. So it doesn't have to be. It depends how sure you have to be like to get that job. But I would prefer SwiftUI. It's so fun to work with. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers the question, but I cannot give like a definite answer there. It depends where you are.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. So Cam is asking that what do you suggest for saving or storing data for simple table view app? So that if the user loses his or her phone, they can always retrieve their data.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because when you mentioned that last thing, like if they lose their phone, how can they retrieve it? That is the part when some people might not stumble, but when you can make a mistake. If you save, or if it's a very simple app and you save everything in user defaults, that is saved in that specific app that you have installed on that phone. So when the app is deleted, that data is deleted. So when the phone is lost, of course. So that wouldn't help you at all. So when you work with any data, I would suggest to try and learn to work with core data, because for some simple things, you can you would need like a couple of days just to get into it and just go over a couple of tutorials. And core data is so much simpler than it was before. Before it was like remembered like as the big bad data management thing. So it's I remember like my first tutorial when I went through it, it was like I was so confused, but then I learned about Realm, and then I was like, oh my god, like this is way too simpler. Like why did I see that first tutorial at all? But now I would just go straight with core data and make some simple objects that I can use, because that way. But again, if you lose the phone, then you would have to also upload it and use the cloud. So you have to use CloudKit as well. So if you really have to make sure that the data is never lost, then you have to use CloudKit. That's when things get a bit more tricky. So, but I would use that core data and CloudKit for that specific question, to really make sure that that data is saved and it will never be lost unless the user wants to delete it, of course.
Okay, that's great. Also, we have another question. So how simple or complex do you think a first app should be for someone with a few years of iOS development already?
There aren't really like some limitations per se. Like I mentioned, for example, like I would still use this app, and I would show this app to anyone, or because I still like it and I'm proud of it, and I will always have a lot of good things to say about it. And initially, like my idea was like, let me over engineer something really simple, because it's almost funny. It's almost like, oh my, like look at this guy, like he has like an egg timer app which uses animations, which has this, has that, you know, like a bit. It's almost like it has too many bells, too much bells and whistles. But I would never go like too complex with a lot of screens or login. Like if you want to present an app which someone needs to download and test it out, do not have an app that requires a login or that you do some extra step. Just make it as fast as possible for them to check it out. So go the simpler route, because you can focus on the graphics and have like 1 or 2, 3 screens, like just to be able to like really polish those few screens as much as you can. Like I mentioned, like that tutorial screen, like I wouldn't have even put it there if the way the eggs are prepared wasn't so specific, because I really wanted just to have like a really like you can see this background, like this orange with this purple works so well. And if you have only that, like it really makes an impression on you. And just so that is the main idea behind this app that will hopefully get you some interviews and stuff like that.
That's a great piece of advice. I think that's very useful. So I think we are like out of all the questions. So you like incredibly answered all of them. That's really nice suggestions and piece of advice. I hope all the attendees enjoyed it and learned a lot from your talk today.
Awesome, same here. And I just want to say that this was really fun, and this was like my second, but my first real and a bit more serious on a longer talk. And I think I'm going to keep doing this in the future because it's so fun, and I really want to share, and especially for junior devs and interviewers and everything, and I have so much knowledge and experience to share there that I want to just help more people get on that, because it's not that people make mistakes, but they are focused on wrong things when they apply for the job. So if they only focus like on the different things, they might like hopefully have like greater success ratio here.
Yeah, that's awesome.